This is why I find some parts of Christianity's adoption of some elements of wokeness to be fundamentally misunderstanding what Jesus was about, which was the transcendence of tribal identity, the absolute, in fact, a rejection of it in a sort of violent, clear, categorical way, that I will prefer the Samaritan to the Jew. In fact, the Samaritan is better than you.
Yep.
If you could only see is better than you. That's a remarkable moment in human consciousness, it seems to me, and it's you can see a line from that as well as to Kant, and you can see a line from that to the Enlightenment, even though the Enlightenment was also engaged in, obviously, rebuking superstition, rebuking clerical authority, rebuking the ability of the clerical authorities to define reality for us.
Yes,
and when I think of... Yeah, go on.
Well, it's often, I think, mistakenly understood of the Enlightenment that because they were rebuking clerical authority and certain, abuses of power of the church, that they, rejected religion altogether. There are well-known historians who hold that to be the case. I think you can point to passages in almost all of the really great Enlightenment thinkers, even Voltaire, who loved making fun of certain orthodoxies, where you get a sense of reverence. I mean, not just a moral move of the kind that you're talking about with the Good Samaritan, but which is certainly a part of Enlightenment thinking, but a sense of reverence, a sense for creation, a sense that whoever made this, it wasn't me. And I owe some gratitude towards creation for having been given this gift of life within it. That's a view that you get in almost all of the Enlightenment thinkers, even if they're very critical of, some of the clerical practices, which fortunately your current Pope has done as much as he could to get away with. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of Francis.
I am too. I am. There are many criticisms of him, but that he's a representative of some of the core truths of the gospel seems to me are indisputable, and those gospels are more about the imperative of categorical love than anything else, and mercy and forgiveness, and yes. Well, we could digress. I want to talk a little bit more about Foucault, and I'm going to introduce another person here, Carl Schmitt, whom you also are slightly compelled by, one would say, because Schmitt, in a way, is fair. I mean, here we're having to. We're boiling stuff down to very basic. But one of Schmitt's core concepts is that politics is ultimately about friends and enemies. It's our side and your side,
right.
And it's a war, and it's a war between the imposition of the power of one side over another, or vice versa. And when I just read the papers, and there's some sort of implicit premise that all these groups are at war with each other, essentially, and that, in fact, they're at war with each other in a hierarchical way. And that's why we use this term ally, which is horrible. I hate this word ally, because what it means is that
too.
I despise it, because it's a word we use when people are at war with, and you are allying with one side of the war against the other. That is not if you have that view of the world, you cannot understand or defend a liberal society, because it's just based on something completely contrary to that.
Thank you. Because when I tell people I will not be an ally, they're troubled by it, and then I explain exactly what I mean. And, allies are based on particular interests in the middle of a war. The great example is the United States and the Soviet Union. And when the interests diverge, hey, you can go to war again. Whereas solidarity is based on conviction, not on interest. I have shared convictions with, at the moment, Volodymyr Zelensky and, some other people as well. But yeah,
I believe in the inherent dignity of human beings. That's why I'm against abortion, say, not because I'm a member of the red states versus the blue states, or not because it's my side versus your side. It is simply because there are certain principles I hold, whether they be about abortion or about homosexuality or whatever that you want to have, that I agree with, and therefore you agree with, and therefore we can join together in a common cause. That's
Exactly.
not an alliance of powerful forces. And that's why we hear the war on gay people, the war on trans people. It reduces very complicated and difficult debates into this binary metaphor of war.